Good.
Doesn't seem like that's in your DNA. Welcome, everybody, to the City Commission meeting of October 25th, 2022. I call this meeting to order. Val, please call the roll.
Commissioner Penny? Here. Commissioner Curry?
Here.
Commissioner Danio?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson?
Here.
Mayor Villa?
Here, and at this time, I'll remind everyone to please silence any cell phones that you may have, and I'll ask you all to please stand for the invocation led by City Commissioner Penny Curry, and continue standing afterwards for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Lord, we ask that you look over this meeting this evening and just lay on each of our minds and hearts to do a good job for the city, Lord. And Lord, we ask that you just be with everybody as we start to enter the holiday seasons, allow families to come together. Lord, and we thank you for every blessing you bestow upon us. In your name, I pray, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Curry.
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Hamilton,
You'll be up first?
are you, yep. So what we have here tonight is we have Mr. Hamilton, and he is our, remind me of the title, the official,
I think I'm the director of city events
there we go.
on a consulting basis.
There we go. So the director of our events, and he's, I asked him to be here tonight to give us an update. We all see that Pictona, I'm sure many of you saw this past week, amazing tournament, huge turnout, and I know you were down there, but we just wanted to hear an update. If you have, I know there might not be too much, but about what's been happening with your job.
Yes, Mayor and the members of the council and city staff. I've been here 5 months. It's hard to believe. It's gone very rapidly. And as I told you before, I'm an old guy, and it's the first time in a long time that I've sort of been out there trying to sell an unknown. And it has been a lot more work than I thought it was going to be. But it has been fun, enjoyable. People are noticing what we're doing now, and things are going very, very well. The 5 months that I've been here, we've been busy working on contractors to provide production equipment, sound and lights, cleaning, all of those types of things, legal documents for doing settlements and stuff with promoters and entertainers. And my first phase of my contract is up at the end of this month, which is next week, next Monday. And then we move forward with the fun part and getting some concerts and activities in. I'm currently working with about 7 promoters, talking about 10 local entertainers or regional entertainers. All have an interest, but none of them have written a check yet. So we're getting close. This past weekend helped tremendously because they got to actually see what was going on, the success of the crowd, how it was handled. The stadium was in operation, so it all went really, really well. We do have the U.S. Army Field Corps Band and Chorus booked for February the 24th at 7 p.m. And if you've never seen that event, it is a very patriotic event, and I guarantee you'll leave there feeling good. It's really a great event. Hopefully we'll have something soon to announce for January and the rest of the year. I'm working with a group out of New York called New York Dueling Pianos that I think will do very, very well there, along with some other acts. So I'll be happy to answer any questions, and we'll probably be back in here to see you again in the near future.
That's awesome.
Okay.
Do any commissioners have any questions?
No, thank you very much.
Yeah, and those of you that I have not met with, I've met with the mayor and your vice mayor. Please drop me a note or come by and say hello. I like to know what everyone is interested in and what type of activities you'd like to see there. So thanks for having me here tonight.
Perfect. Thank you for being here, Mr. Hamilton. We really appreciate it. It was exciting to see how many people were over there at Pictona, and we're excited to see what amazing events you can bring here to our city. So thank you for your service there. Now, with that, we will move on to our public comments. This is the audience's opportunity to address the commission about anything not on our regular agenda tonight. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to the city commission? Yes, sir.
Jim Legary, 342 Burley. Penny has reprimanded me for skipping meetings. I apologize.
It's true, it's true.
I want to say, during the event, I was, this hurricane was like really, really disconcerting for me and many of the folks that I know. There's no electric, no phones, no television, no nothing, lots of nothing. And I'm wondering, if, like I say, I'm not the only one that I've heard mention this. I don't know what y'all can do or what other folks are doing, but I thought I'd bring it up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Legary. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak to the City Commission tonight? Seeing none, I'll close public participation, and we'll move to the approval of the minutes. We have the minutes from the September 27th, 2022 workshop, September 27th, 2022 regular City Commission and budget meeting, October 4th, 2022 special meeting about Hurricane Ian, and October 11th, 2022 regular City Commission meeting. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion to approve all of the minutes from Commissioner Danio and a second from Commissioner Curry. We'll open this up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on the minutes tonight? Seeing none, I'll close public participation. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion needed? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Now moving to our consent agenda, items 1 through 4. Would a city commissioner like to remove any item from the consent agenda tonight? All right, the action proposed is stated for each item on the consent agenda. Unless a city commissioner removes an item from the consent agenda, no discussion on individual items will occur, and a single motion will approve all items. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak on any item on the consent agenda? Yes, sir, Mr. Legary. Which item are you? 3. Okay, the interlocal agreement assigning use of City of Holly Hill opioid settlement funds to Volusia County. The floor is yours.
So I'd like to know how much money we're talking about and where it's going to go. I mean, I understand that we're handing this over to the county, but I think some assurance that we're going to get something, because I know it is a local problem as well.
Yes, sir, I'll get you that answer.
Thank you.
Yep. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak on the consent agenda? Seeing none, I'll close public participation. Mr. Walker, can you pull up, do you have it in front of you, the exact dollar amount?
I don't have the exact dollar amount in front of me. I'm not sure if I
Yeah,
can.
I could pull it
I
up.
don't think it's.
But to answer your question, it's a small amount of money, and for us to be able to do something with, Mr. Legary. So all of the cities are sending it to the county because they have programs that are already fighting this opioid challenge and helping people, and so it wouldn't be the best use of the money. First off, we don't have a department to be able to head it up to actually help people with this specific need. And so with this settlement, all of the cities are pushing this money to the county into their existing program so that they can help the most amount of people. So we'll get you the exact dollar amount.
Not in the agenda.
It's not? Well, I'll get you that number regardless after the meeting, but it wasn't enough for us to be able to do something, and we don't have the staff to be able to actually take that on. So with that, public participation is closed. I will entertain a motion for approval of the consent agenda items 1 through 4.
Second.
We have a motion for approval of the consent agenda from Commissioner Johnson and a second for Vice Mayor Penny. No discussion will occur. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Now moving to number 5, Well, on our regular agenda, we don't have anything, but on our public hearings tonight, under number 6, we have a request for an accommodation, request for accommodation to build a deck with handicapped ramp to extend 5 feet into the front yard setback at 328 Clifton Avenue. Mr. Walker.
Yes, Mayor and Commissioners. As mentioned, this is a request to build a deck within the setback at 328 Clifton Avenue, and really, this stems from an accident that occurred back in November of 2021. Joanna and Lawrence Wharton, who are not here this evening, they received notification that their son, who was living in California at the time, had been hit by a vehicle while crossing the street, and he suffered catastrophic injuries. So eventually, they were able to go to California and pick him up. They brought him back to the home at 328 Clifton Avenue, but the home is not handicapped equipped. They didn't have a ramp or any way really to get their son easily in and out of the house for all of his medical appointments. And so Mr. Wharton began to build a ramp so that he wouldn't have to carry his son in and out of the home. So he built a ramp, also a deck that would enable them to have a little bit of space to maneuver around in the wheelchair. And so that's where we stand now. They have this deck and the handicap ramp. The issue is that the setback in the R2 zoning district requires 30 feet from the front of the house to the property line. Well, the house is 33 feet from the front property line, and the deck extends 8 feet from the house. So because it's attached to the house, it's required to meet the setback, but being 8 feet, it extends 5 feet into the setback. So the home and the deck are now only 25 feet from the front property line. In order to be able to keep it, they would need either a variance or a request that is approved through a provision that we have in the Fair Housing Act. It really doesn't meet the qualifications for a variance, so what staff did is fell upon the Section 82-322 of the Land Development Regulations that have a provision within the Fair Housing Act where you can ask for a special accommodation. So there's information that is required in order to make the special or the reasonable accommodation request. That is found in Section 82-322A. The applicant has supplied that information. I won't go through each of the criteria unless you would like me to, but they have supplied the information that is necessary. Then the next section, Section 82-833B, outlines some of the things that you as a commission would consider in deciding whether or not the request for accommodation is reasonable. I've also listed out those 9 criteria and provided some commentary as well. So I won't go through each item again unless you request. It's staff's opinion that they've provided the information and also provided the proof that would substantiate a request for special accommodation to keep this ramp and deck. The item was heard by the Board of Planning and Appeals at its meeting on October 3rd. What I'll do is I'll present to you the 4 basic paths that is being requested of the commission, and then let you know which one the BOPA chose. I think that might be the easiest way. So the action that can be taken by the commission is to, 1, find that the 5-foot encroachment into the front yard setback for a handicap ramp and deck at 328 Clifton Avenue is a reasonable request and approve the encroachment. Or you can find that the 5-foot encroachment is reasonable but approve it with conditions. Or you can find that the encroachment into the front yard setback for the handicap ramp and deck is a reasonable request, but approve it at a different amount of encroachment instead of the 5 feet. Or you can find that the 5-foot encroachment into the front yard setback for a handicap ramp and deck at 328 Clifton Avenue is not a reasonable request and deny the encroachment. The BOPA chose number 2, which was to find that the 5-foot encroachment into the front yard setback for the handicap ramp and deck is reasonable, but they approved it or recommended that it have conditions. And the condition that they recommended is that the property, once the property sells, that your approval would expire. So if that is the path in terms of applying conditions, staff would recommend that if we're going to say that it would expire upon sale, staff would recommend that we say unless the new owners can show that they have need for the ramp, because they may need it, otherwise they would have to come in and go through this whole process. The new owners would have to come in and go through the process, and maybe the owners or the new owners are purchasing the property because it has a ramp and a deck. Maybe it's something that's ideal for them, and that's their whole reason for purchasing it. So those are the 4 paths in front of you, but staff has no objection to the request.
You have a question?
Brian, is the whole house interior ADA compliant as well? Did they do all kinds of modifications inside?
I don't think so, because we haven't had any request for permits to do interior work. At this point, the only thing that they have done that we're aware of is the ramp and the deck.
But also too, the house could already be okay for his wheelchair or whatever he needs.
Yeah, it just seems to me like if somebody was buying a house for the same reason that they have the ramp and maybe inside accommodations as well, or something, it would be part of the selling appeal, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
It could be. This just happened at the end of last year, and so I think little by little, they're going through the home and making the adjustments that are needed. When they came in and talked to us, actually not that long ago, they seemed to still be kind of in shock and getting used to what they needed to do. I think the gravity of the changes that are going to be made in the home are sinking in. So, but I do think that gradually they're going to be coming in and making changes.
Yes, sir. Vice Mayor.
I don't think any of us would have done anything different if our child was in that situation. You'd build the ramp, but my question is, I'm assuming they don't have a building permit and didn't apply for a building permit?
What happened is they initially started construction without anything at all. Code enforcement stopped. They were already at a point where the ramp and the deck, it's not 100% complete, but it was at a point that it was functional to get the man in and out of the house. So they did apply for a building permit, and what we did is held off on any further code enforcement action or asking them to remove it until this commission could make a decision on the issue. In the meantime, they have been using it extensively to get the young man in and out of the home.
Now, my second question is, what the Board of Planning and Appeals recommended is exactly what I would have recommended, but my concern is, there's no red flag going to trigger when this house sells. We'll put a condition on it that we won't ever be able to enforce. We're not notified. They could sell it tomorrow. We wouldn't know. It's 5 feet. I think we should go with condition 1.
Yeah, me too.
Because you're gonna put something out there to enforce, and we're never going to be able to enforce it.
Because of the 5, it seems like more work for staff.
So, and I wanted to clarify this, Mr. Walker, you had said that the Board of Planning Appeals went with number 2, but in my packet, number 2 is that it is a reasonable request, but it would be approve a different amount of encroachment, which I don't believe is what they recommended. In mine, it says number 2. I don't know why. I only have 3 actions here, not 4.
Your one is combined together. Your 1 and 2 were combined into one in the memo.
Oh, okay. All right.
And 1 and 2, his 1 and 2 were combined into one. in the
Are
memo.
combined into one.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So they approved that it's a reasonable request, but with a condition of removing it when the house sells. I agree with you, Vice Mayor, that there, we're not necessarily going to trigger it. And also, if the next buyer that buys the property is not handicapped, most likely they're going to take down the handicap ramp anyways. So, and being in the real estate world, some people specifically look for that. Someone may have a need for that, and they don't want to go through the trouble of building one themselves. So I'm not going to ask for a motion right now. Let's open it up to the public first, unless there's further questions from the commission. All right. With that, we'll open this up to the public. Yes, ma'am.
Hi there. I'm Heidi Heller, 460 Ridgewood Avenue. I'd like to thank you for your time. In addition to the ramp, I would like to also ask if it's possible that at this time we also allow for a canopy, being it's catastrophic problems for the individual. Can a canopy also be put onto over the ramp and possibly over the carport? Maybe it's creating a can of worms, but I just want to be compassionate to the person and his helper for having to be like that. Secondly, along with the BOPA recommendation sells and expire, I'm glad that was taken out, but I would like to ask about, maybe moot, that there is no ordinance, or there is, if there is an ordinance that stops enclosing the ramp to make it another room. So, don't know if there is, but I would say let's just keep it a ramp instead of an enclosement. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Heller. Is there anyone else in the audience that wants to comment on this subject tonight? Seeing none, I'll close public participation. Mr. Walker, has the applicant requested a canopy to be put over it?
They have not, and that was not advertised as part of the request. So if that
Okay.
was something that they wanted to request, it would have to come
And just to
back.
clarify her second question, this cannot be turned into an extra room enclosed or anything?
No, not
Okay,
unless they
thank you.
went through a full application process and building permit, but other than that, they could not do that.
Great, thank you so much. All
I
right,
think I'll explain why that condition came in there. During the BOPA meeting, there was some conversation that I interpreted as asking that question, and so I kind of maybe stimulated that conversation, because to say, if we, a lot of times we prove things for a particular reason, and then years down the road, things just seem to continue to encroach. It's just one of those things that happens, exactly what she was just referencing. We allow a ramp, and then all of a sudden there's a wall, and all of a sudden it's a little bedroom. It just kind of grows. So, and this is specifically, the only reason this is being allowed, it has nothing to do with a variance. This isn't a variance. It's not something unique with this property. It's the person in this property that's unique. And that's because of the ADA, because of the Fair Housing Act, because the law requires us to reasonably accommodate. That's why it's being done. So if the person, the need for it no longer exists, should the ramp no longer exist, because it now violates our code, and it's in our setback, in our setback. So that's why it kind of came about. And it is, there was one point in time where we said, well, there were discussions, should we remove it if the person's no longer living there, if the son leaves. And we're like, we'll never know that, but we will know when it sells, or we can find out, because that's public record. Deed to be recorded, public records, they'll have a new utility account with the city. So it's a much easier way to find out. But I don't want you to view this as a variance, because it's not. Variances are dealt with because there's something unique about the property, not the person, or the occupant, or the owner. Here is something unique about the owner. The occupant that's allowing for this encroachment into our codes. And that's why that condition, I think, the planning board put it in there. It was probably through the type of discussion we're having right now, is why they did that.
Okay, thank you for that insight, Mr. Simpson. I will open the floor for a motion, but also to Vice Mayor, and I'm good with it either way, but I think with the caveat that Mr. Walker said in the beginning, does the same thing. If the next person does need this, if they can show proof that they have someone that requires it, then they can certainly keep it there for the property. So just 2 cents, but I know you wanted to speak.
No, thank you for clearing that up, Scott, because I'm going to go back to my original thought and follow the recommendation of the Planning and Appeals Board. Because like.
That really was not my intent of speaking.
No, it makes it.
You made a good point about
It
variance.
delineates it for me,
Right.
the difference between a variance and an accommodation. So the accommodation is for the person, so we're making reasonable accommodations for this person. And if the property sells, doesn't mean that we will know the next day and we have to go down and tear it down. It just means that we can if it comes to our attention.
Problem, yeah.
But if the next occupant does have the same situation, then they could come in and go through the same process. And I think it would be a no-brainer that we would make the same recommendation at that time.
Yes, sir, and before you make a motion, Commissioner Curry wants.
Yeah, I just have a question. If they do sell, they're granted the ability to keep this, wouldn't the next occupant or homeowner have to show that they have virtually the same circumstances to be able to utilize that? And if not, they would then be in violation, correct?
Yes and no. Really, it depends on the decision that you make tonight. If you make the decision that if the property sells, the ramp can, let's say, remain as long as the new owners can show that they have a need for it. In other words, if someone in their family is handicapped and needs the ramp, then the ramp could stay. Or you can make the decision that once it sells, it has to go. If you just say that it's a reasonable request and they can have it, and you leave it at that, then there's no requirement that a new owner coming in would have to remove it. So they would not necessarily, a new owner would not necessarily be in violation unless you have put a condition that when the
When
property
it
sells.
Because realistically, we're not going to know when that property sells, and I think everybody up here knows that. I mean, yeah, you can go on and have somebody check daily, but in reality, we're not going to know. So now I can also see the light that might be a better choice.
Yeah, but at the same time, too, Commissioner, I think that Mr. Simpson was, if we do it that way, where it's just blanketed, always can be without ever changing, then it's more like a variance as opposed to this accommodation. But and I think to the Vice Mayor's point is that if it ever becomes a problem, right, in 20 years, 3 owners later, and that's still there, and someone complains to that commission at that time, then code enforcement could go out and go, oh, you know what, in 2022, they said that they have to prove that they need that, because
Right.
it is encroaching. It is further out than anyone else.
That's what I have now taken
Okay,
it
so
to.
it'll give them a tool to be able to use
Yeah,
that if
that-
need be. Mr. Vice Mayor?
I don't know if this is for Scott or for Brian, but, so when if the will of this commission is to approve it with the condition that it terminate upon transfer of title, how is that recorded? Because these minutes are going to be buried somewhere, and 20 years from now, a future commission's not going to remember this. Is there something put on the title? Would a title search find this? Is it like, I don't know.
There is a form that we can fill out, and where this would be signed by the mayor to show that this was approved, and then that would be recorded with the clerk of court.
Almost like when
Public
someone
record.
does a lien search or a title search, I want this to pop up so
Right.
that it's a red flag.
Yes, that is what we would do, Commissioner.
What we would do if we go with BOPA's recommendation, or one,
In any,
option one, or either one?
in either one.
Okay.
If you just approve it with no conditions, it'll be approved. But if there's conditions,
Well, as the legal legal attorney what should we go with? What is your recommendation?
I think a condition with the staff having the ability to continue it to approve without making someone go back through the approval process, because it may not be the exact same situation, but it's somebody who has a handicap has difficulty that can utilize the ramp, and leave that discretion to staff to approve, so somebody doesn't have to go back through the whole reapproval process that those individuals had to. As a side note, this was one of them. You remember we had the horse issue?
Yeah.
And I think with the example I gave.
You did.
May have been
Was
like
this.
this.
This was the exact example.
So there's been some discussion, it was at the BOPA meeting, and Brian and I have had it, that you may be seeing a recommendation that something like this doesn't even have to go through y'all. That there ought to be a streamlined process where this something is honestly so obvious that somebody needs this help, clearly qualifies. There ought to be a better way to do it than make them go through 2 public hearings.
Right.
I agree.
Especially when they're protected by the ADA anyways.
Yes, exactly. So, but I just know, representing this city for so long and others, I've just seen approvals, I don't know if you want to call it approval creep or what do you want to call it, but you approve one thing and 10 years down the road, something else gets approved, and 10 years down the road, another thing gets approved. Unfortunately, I've been here long enough to see this. All of a sudden, what we're approving tonight, in 25 years, will resemble what you did tonight. And that's why I think the idea is saying, look, this is just because you have an occupant here that's very unique, that falls under the ADA, that is entitled to a reasonable accommodation, that we need to do this. If the next owner is not entitled to a reasonable accommodation, we probably ought to have them remove that ramp. Because somebody's going to say, well, they got a ramp, why can't I? Well, not them, but 3 owners ago, they had a handicapped person there. Well, the handicapped person's not there now. How come they still get to keep it? Just don't want to have that
So
discussion.
you're recommending that option 2?
Yeah, option 2, as modified by Commissioner Penny, would be a good solution. And I think that there should be what I'm just basically going to call a development order. Whenever we approve anything, that ought to be signed and in writing with the conditions, if any of them are, in public records, so it gets pulled up. They should all be there. And so if someone does a title search and, they go to buy the house and they're going to say, well, yeah, you have this ramp was approved, but if you don't have a handicapped person, it's not approved anymore.
Right.
You need to know that. So the buyer will know that.
Yep.
So that would be my recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Simpson. Are there any further questions? Yes.
So Scott, I believe that this should be streamlined, that this is a no-brainer. Staff should have been able to approve this. So in the motion tonight, if the mayor accepts my motion to grant the reasonable accommodation, but that it terminate upon transfer of title unless the new owner has a similar accommodation, and allow that to be approved by staff, that would be my motion. But secondly, I would want to bring back at a later date that we change this whole process.
I would do that as a second motion.
Is that a second motion?
Yeah, it would. I mean, I actually.
Or do I even need to
You
do
don't even
that?
need to address it, really.
If we're gonna take it up at a later date to make it staff approval, do I even need to put staff approval in the first motion?
Yeah, I think Brian and I talked about it, and Joe, and we kicked it around with the planning board. I think this is going to be brought to the planning board. It's going to come back to you as a
Okay,
recommendation.
so I'm gonna leave that out of this motion to make.
No, leave it in. The staff approved in this motion. That way, if it's ever pulled up, it's right there that staff can approve it if they have the.
There, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the staff approval you need to put in there. I think I thought you were asking for, should you include in their direction for
Right,
staff to change
right.
the code and. come
That's
up with
already
the
happening.
process.
Yes.
That's coming
That
back.
doesn't need to be part of the motion.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
All right.
Mr. Vice Mayor, would you like to make that? All
I'd like to make that motion if the clerk understood what I said.
right. If you can.
See, there's 2.
All right.
I would like to make a motion that we grant this reasonable accommodation to this applicant However, that the accommodation terminate upon transfer of title / ownership of this property unless the new buyer has the same type of special need, and that will be approved by staff.
Mr. Vice Mayor, can I just chime in before we make, is not the same exact? Because it could be.
I didn't say exact, did I?
Similar.
Okay, it's
Did you
similar.
say-
I said same, but yeah.
Can prove to staff that, Mr. Attorney, can you help us with this?
Yes, that the subsequent buyer would show qualification under the ADA for a reasonable accommodation.
Perfect.
That's
That's why we pay you the big bucks.
That's my
And
motion.
I will second that motion.
Thanks,
got-
Ms.
you got the
Thank you,
easy
Mr.
part.
Mayor.
Yes, sir. You got that, Ms. Manning?
She'll get it on the recording later.
Good. There we go. All right, and we have a motion from Vice Mayor and a second from Commissioner Curry. Any further discussion needed? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, the motion carries unanimously. Now moving to our communications, we'll start with you, Mr. Walker.
Yes, Mayor. And just a point of clarification, I believe that the amount is about, for the opioid money that we are going to give to Volusia County, is about $6,100.
Okay, thank you. 6,100.
About $6,100, $6,100 and something
Okay,
dollars. All right.
got it. Jim?
So just a couple of things that our city manager, Joe Forte, brought before the commission. One had to do with the city not having Miss Florida or Miss Florida Teen serving this year as the Grand Marshal in the annual Christmas parade. He says that there have been many conflicts in past years in getting them here, and it's become difficult. So one of the things that he is requesting is that the commission give consideration in selecting a Grand Marshal. And I guess time is of the essence on this because we do need time to add the name to the promotional materials. So that's one of the things that that he's requesting, is that the commission come up with someone that you would like to have as the Grand Marshal.
Yeah, and tonight, the reason I got here so late was I was at an event at the Speedway for Daniel Dye, who is the son of Randy Dye, and this past year he raced in the ARCA series. He finished second, but he won several championships in between, and they announced today that he will be now running in the Craftsman Truck Series, which is a big deal. He's a hometown kid, and I believe he's 18. So I asked tonight if I could get it approved by the commission first, if he could be our Grand Marshal, but unfortunately, he's going to be out of town racing that weekend, so he can't do it. So, but I don't know if anyone else has been thinking about anyone, or did you have your hand up, Vice Mayor?
Yeah, I know we struggled with this for years, and then we got Miss Florida, and then that was great, so we didn't have to think about it anymore. I think something that might be nice is that we should recognize the Citizen of the Year, the Business of the Year, and the Employee of the Year, and let them be our 3-for-1 Grand Marshal. That way, it happens every year, and we will be selecting the 2023 citizen. I'm talking about the 2022. The people that were selected in January, let them be our Grand Marshals for this year. That's their farewell wave to the people. And then 2023, we bring in the new slate of Employee of the Year, Citizen of the Year, and Business of the Year. Years ago, when we selected them, we had a big banquet, we had a big Christmas party, and we brought them and their spouse for something. And we really, other than bringing them here and giving them a piece of paper, I don't think we really have anything to highlight them for. So I just want to consider that.
Yeah, I'd be in favor of that.
I actually like that idea.
And perennially, every year I'd be in favor of them doing that. And if we could get someone of very high stature, they can also be a co-Grand Marshal type thing and celebrate both of them. And so I agree with that. And this year, I think that's the way to go, especially we're short on time. So
Well,
unless someone else has talked to someone.
No, and there's 3 chances, so if 2 can't make it, we still,
Yeah, there you go.
right?
Yeah. All right, so is there any objection of doing that, especially
No.
for this year? All right. good idea, Vice Mayor.
And I don't have a problem, just for the record, for here on out.
Okay, good,
Making it the same.
good. All right. Does that?
I don't know
that
protocol,
direction-
we got 3 grand marshals, but I don't know how that works, but
Yeah, they're all just
That's all
our
right.
honored guests, you know?
The more the merrier.
the only problem is it makes number 3 that much more difficult.
Yeah,
How are we getting them there?
yeah. All right.
Okay, so
You got
then,
that direction?
so, yes, so
So
in the
this-
future, we're going to have the Citizen of the Year, Business Person of the Year, and Employee of the Year, and then for this year,
We'll do that as well.
same thing.
Yep, yep. And in the future, if we can get somebody to be another grand marshal,
Can't see people.
we can do that as well.
Maybe the grandeur.
Yeah, there you go.
So I'm not sure that
Get 'em
we
in
have
straight, though.
selected these folks yet.
No,
No, it's from last year.
January.
So we're going to pick last, so we are going to pick,
Yeah.
okay.
Right.
All right.
And that'll be the pattern for next year as well.
Well, they are the, whatever.
their year.
place
Yeah,
of
it's their year.
That year.
Of that
so-
year, so we're going to pick the ones that we elected for 2022.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Got it.
That way they get a little something at the beginning and a little something at the end. Nothing in between.
Perfect. All right. So the next issue that he wanted to have addressed was with regard to the viewing stand that we've had it on the west side of Ridgewood Avenue in the past, but now we have a landscaping issue. We have some landscaping that will be installed in that area before the parade. So we're not going to be able to have the viewing stand on the west side. He says that there was some talk of, last year, it was briefly discussed not having a reviewing stand. But there are a couple of options in addition to not having it. One is placing the reviewing stand on the east side of Ridgewood Avenue in front of City Hall. The speakers could be positioned so that guests sitting on the west side can hear everything. That, though, would also be a challenge, so another option would be to delay the landscaping another 5 weeks. But we're really not sure if the company already has the materials and is ready to go. So it is the same company that installed for Pictona, and that project is just about done. So one of the issues is to decide where we want, if we want at all, a reviewing stand during the time of the parade.
Mr. Mayor, I just have a comment about the landscaping. I don't think we should put that off. Not only that, we're going to have to come up with a solution for
Next
next
year.
year and the years after.
Unless they're 5 weeks behind and don't have materials.
That
Yes,
doesn't fix it next year, though.
No, but it gives us.
but
more
we're
time
going to
think
have
about
to
it.
figure out what we're going to do.
But it will take care of this year.
Yes, sir.
I think you can squeeze it right in front of the Chamber building.
Really?
Do you think?
I just thought of it. I'm looking at Google Earth. There's a lot of space between the front door and the road.
Joe said that thing is a lot of work to put together and put it up.
Yeah, but if, I'd have to go look at that, yeah.
I mean,
If we could put it there,
I'm
that'd
not
be great.
sure that that's going to be wide enough.
it's pretty big. I can't put it on the thing for you, but it's,
But doesn't it go
Well-
past the sidewalk?
yeah, it goes to the, it goes all the way to the edge of the road. It always has.
No, I mean, coming back towards the building, doesn't it? I mean,
It's just stairs.
I don't know how.
And the stairs could go on the side. If- So
I don't
if-
know.
Maybe
Somebody
we should
would have
have
to
someone
measure.
measure
What
that.
if we extend it a little bit longer and put it right in front of Robin Hanger's place?
We have to extend it.
You could put it in front of there, you could put it in front of the phrases, I think.
Well, I think he stays
I'm sure
open.
Robin would be glad to let us have a space right there to put it in front of his.
He's got those poles there. I don't know if it would work.
Well, if it could go there, Vice Mayor, I'd prefer it to go there. Otherwise, I don't really see any place for it. I think it's awkward to have it on the east side of the road. I think it's going to be way too
Well,
far
I
away.
talked to Joe about it. He said, we shut the road down, but they do it the night before. They set it up, so we couldn't do it on the east side.
Well, but we could do it on
do it in
the
the
city
grass.
hall lawn, which I think is just too far.
Too far.
Yeah, it's-
Well, I told
yeah,
him
it's
to put it in
weird.
the road.
That's what I said at first.
Yeah, he said it has to go overnight, though. That
Yeah.
wouldn't work.
So we don't have to work this out necessarily tonight. We can tell Joe to have someone measure it and see if it can go.
I think from what Joe said, we have to make a decision soon because he has to order it.
Well, he'll be at work tomorrow, so he can go measure it himself. Hope you're listening, Joe.
I'll bring him a tape measure.
I have a tape measure in my truck.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
And
I
if
say-
it won't
I say-
fit,
And if it won't fit, then,
I mean, I always enjoy watching the kids and everybody perform. I mean, that's kind of why they do the Christmas parade. I'm not
fit.
necessarily saying we
bet you.
have
We won't
to
bet.
have the stage there, but
Why can't we have just a podium and a couple of small speakers and just kind of recognize them through one,
fit.
or maybe one of the grand marshal guests or something?
why
like
couldn't we
that?
tape off, I guess, an area, if it won't fit, why can't we tape off an area in front of the chamber?
true.
We could
Yeah.
put chairs there, bring our own, whatever.
Yeah.
And that's kind of an area where they can put the speakers, the podium to
Yeah,
announce.
like we use
and
at City Hall.
Yeah,
when we
if
do
it
the,
doesn't fit, we could do that.
We
That's a
could
good
do
idea.
that.
Yeah, I haven't
Does that
thought
work,
of that.
Brian, you think? Podium and a couple
I
speakers?
just enjoy being able to watch the kids who have
Right.
worked hard all year.
Measure the area.
I mean, we can recognize them at least, I mean, that's what the person does, pretty much. They just recognize whoever's coming.
If you don't have some kind of area, you're not going to be able to announce anything.
No, that's
Oh,
what I'm
saying we have
saying,
the
we
area.
tape it
Right.
off.
Yeah, no, we could use the area there, but if the big stand doesn't fit, just a podium, a couple speakers, and a handful
In
of
the
chairs.
little taped off area that,
How about-
however big we need.
5 lifeguard chairs. There you go.
You have like, you know, a human, what do you call it, pyramid or something? No.
All right, so I hope that is enough direction that let's try to figure out if we could put it out right in front of the chamber building.
I think we're going for the chamber spot either way, aren't we?
And, yeah, and if
Yeah.
not,
Right.
then,
And
Hey,
we
they don't
could-
pay rent.
We could do it to where we just work it out
Right,
with
we're
chairs.
gonna use the chamber spot regardless, Brian. We're just gonna see what gives us the most bang for our buck.
you're not there on Saturdays anyway.
Well, maybe for the parade.
Well, yeah, maybe for the parade.
All right, so there's your direction on that, Mr. Walker.
All right. And the last item has to do with the dealership that has supplied in the past vehicles for the parade. So the car dealership that we use is not going to have an inventory to supply the city with convertibles.
Which one was that, by the way? Which car dealership was that?
Ford, right?
Yeoman's.
It was
Gary
Yeoman's?
Yeoman's.
Well, actually, when I spoke to Randy tonight and I asked his son to be in there, he said, do you need any vehicles to ride in? And I said, actually, maybe. So he said, just give me a call. So actually, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to probably get a truck from Randy to ride in it. So if anyone else wants one, let me know. I know you already have a really nice truck, and you have a really nice truck.
Mine's full.
Yours is full.
Use Harry's.
One seat.
So let me just throw that out there. Sorry to interrupt you.
No,
but-
that's-
But
all right.
I think all of it, we see our options here. Does anyone have any guidance? That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get a truck.
Well, I think it needs to be consistent. I mean, I have a golf cart and a truck. If you know, Joe said golf carts, we can't get golf carts from Riviera. But I think it needs to be consistent, you know, if we're on trucks, we're on trucks. If we're all on trailer, we're all on trailer.
Yeah, I think it needs to
But
be
if you
consistent.
call Randy, ask him,
Yeah.
a bunch of trucks.
All right. Yeah, I'll call and see. Yes, ma'am. And pull the microphone in front of you. I know you're the clerk. Yeah.
If you guys are gonna actually go that route with trying to get trucks, are you guys gonna handle that? And
I can
be-
call Randy.
being, you know, Yates out of it?
What I'll do
I
is.
think he means
I just
the
don't want it to
picking-
be the
or she
11th
means-
hour and I don't have a driver, you know, can you get drivers? And, you know, I'm trying to help Yates's off as much as I can as
I
well.
think she means
So-
for picking them up.
You know,
and
like,
delivering them
how are you guys, are you gonna be responsible for getting the trucks over there, getting your
Oh, for
drivers?
picking them up. Okay.
You know what
So.
I'm saying, picking
so
the trucks up?
Are you saying that maybe our staff doesn't want to pick up the
No, I'm
trucks
just saying
anymore?
if you want help, we're gonna need to know, I
We need
I
time.
wouldn't
We
be,
need time.
I would
you
say
know,
that
we're
I
like
can.
almost less than 2 months
You
away.
can know by the end of the week.
Yeah, I can know tomorrow. I
Okay.
can call Randy tomorrow and then get that directly to you if he says,
Okay,
yes, I got
that'll
5
be
trucks,
fine.
whatever. And then I would say to handle it as we used to, if you
Okay,
could do that.
yep.
Schedule the pickup and drop off.
We'll need 8 trucks.
8?
Because we got 3
We got 3 or
MCs.
maybe,
Maybe
well,
we-
we need 6. Put all 3 of them in the back
Yeah,
of the
put
picture
all
truck.
three of them in the back.
True. Mr. Gutakis,
Talking about Ford trucks?
say that again?
Ford trucks?
Ford.
I know what is he?
Probably
Randy isn't he Dodge?
I thought he was Dodge.
Dodge dealer.
Dodge, Jeep, Ram.
Yeah, I thought he
know.
was Dodge.
I think he's Dodge, yeah.
Dodge
That you get Penny Curry a Raptor, but that's okay.
I have a dedicated driver, I'll have
That'd be
you
nice.
know.
Raptors aren't in stock. You can't
Designated or
find any
dedicated?
Raptors anywhere.
Dedicated.
Oh,
He
smart
has
people.
been my driver every year I've been in the Christmas.
kinda early.
Oh, that's why you're.
Call me the transporter.
That's why you're requesting. I see. And as to your question, I'll have my own driver. My dad always drives me, so
Okay. I'll
does
just
anyone
get
else
with
require a
Yates
driver?
tomorrow and,
Scott,
confirm with
are
him
we
that
good?
everything would be able to be okay with him. Because he's
Okay.
usually the one that kind of helps with getting them where they need to be and,
I have my driver.
okay.
Let us know if not.
Now,
Okay.
if something falls through with that, should we make a fallback plan like we did with the
Why don't
stage?
you just let us know, Chris? If you're gonna find out in the next.
I
day
can
or
let
so.
Joe know, and he can let you all know. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, our only other option is probably to
Trailer.
get a trailer, unless y'all wanna walk.
I'm not riding a tow trailer, I don't ride.
You tow
That
a
gentleman that you're talking about getting the trucks from,
Yeah.
does he have 8 different people that can possibly bring the trucks there? So it
Maybe
doesn't
6.
get the police department
I
involved?
doubt it.
I can ask, but
Yeah, I doubt he's got that many people he'd be able to spare.
So are all of you going to have a driver?
Yes.
yeah.
I'm gonna have a driver for the parade if we.
Right, right.
Are you asking for the pickup?
Well,
though,
I'm
from
just
the-
trying to,
Yeah.
it's been somewhat of an issue with the PD, they're already very busy in the morning and, helping over down there at Florida Health Care with the parade. And, Yates is not really here to speak for himself, just kind of
Well, I'll speak for him.
going on memory.
Okay, Chief.
Okay.
You can come up,
Okay.
Chief.
Chief Miller, Holly Hill Police Department. We will do anything you want. We will do it and not complain, but I will tell you, it is a big deal. We already have manpower staffing challenges for the parade, not for patrol or anything like that. The parade is a hectic day. So when we have to go out there, we have to find people to return them. You're paying people. It's not free. You're paying officers to go deliver that. So we will do anything you want. I just want to let you know, for full transparency, it is not easy.
Right, I guess that's what I was trying
Okay.
to say.
Okay.
I never realized that.
Yeah, it's-
And usually we get them the day before,
A lot
right?
of coordination, and
Staff can-
again, we'll do it, I just want you to know the full picture.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, I wish I knew this going into it. So let me talk to,
Scott just had a suggestion as well as far as picking up the trucks.
We can go pick them up. Like
You know,
anytime,
staff,
can just
yeah.
drive out there to pick up 2 vehicles,
yeah.
so if you got a driver,
I'm thinking I could even pick.
I mean, I could pick one up if,
I mean, it's
depending on
workable,
what time of the day it is.
It's workable.
Just see
So-
what he says. He might tell you no.
Yeah.
You gotta go, just gather.
Yeah,
some
just see what
information.
he says.
All right, yeah, let's do that. So
Yeah, we could
I'll get
work
with
out.
Joe.
It's workable.
And deliver
I'll get with
that.
Joe and we'll come up with a plan, hopefully by the end of this week.
Susan will go pick them up.
Yeah, I'll go pick up one.
There we go. They were more fun when they were the Mustang convertibles, right? People wanted to drive
Somebody
those.
does.
All right,
Yeah, everybody wanted to drive those things.
all right, that's the direction on that, Mr. Walker. Anything further?
That's it.
All right, thank you. Mr. Simpson? All right. Anything further, Mrs. Manning?
Just a reminder that Friday is we have the blood drive from 9 to 12, and then at 1 o'clock, the Halloween event, Lizette is going to be outside setting up for the Halloween from 5 to 10. And if all of, you guys can stop in, you don't have to stay for the whole thing, but if you could just kind of stop in and say hello. It starts at 5, so
Then we got National Night Out, then we got,
National
then we
Night
got
Out.
Movie with a Cop.
Yeah, all next week,
Yep.
from Monday through Fridays, something's going on.
Have we posted about the
That's awesome.
Halloween stuff yet?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
It's
Okay,
been on.
good.
There's a radio
Yeah,
ad, I
sure.
don't know what channel it's on. but my
Oh,
wife-
really?
yeah.
Good,
Yeah, it's
good.
been on our social Facebook, and it's on our city calendar event. so
Good.
it's-
All right, I'll go on there and share that as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I see we have from the police department, October 29th, DEA Drug Take Back Day. November 1st, National Night Out, it's a big deal. November 2nd, the very next day, the SADY, the Women's Self-Defense class is taking place. November 3rd, the very next day, is Neighborhood Watch meeting with Thanksgiving dinner. Might have to go to that one. November 4th is a big deal for my children. It's Movie with a Cop. Are we doing it on the lawn, just like last year? Awesome.
Minions.
Awesome. Yeah, showing the Minions, Rise of Gru. So we appreciate that. We appreciate that, Chief, for all the events that you do. And the Movie with the Cop, I know several of us went out there last year. It went really, really well, and there's just such great positive community feedback. We appreciate what your officers are doing out in the community and bridging that gap for a lot of families. So thank you. With that, Mr. Gutakis, do you have anything? All right. I don't have anything further for us tonight either. So tonight, we're going to start with Commissioner Danio. Good. Commissioner Johnson.
You don't have anything, John? Anything?
I got nothing.
The only thing I have is,
I keep it inside.
we're hoping to have the Volusia Sports Center up and running by the end of the year.
All
I know
right.
it doesn't look good from the outside, a lot of progress, but there's a lot going on the inside.
Wow. Good.
We're
Good.
hoping to have it. It's hard to do. It's hard to get products. It's hard to find things. They said a meter can is March or April of next year to get a meter can who can power up to it and things like that. You just have to hunt and hunt and hunt until you find them.
Meter can, like FPL, don't you know anybody from FPL?
I've checked every source, every place there is, and every different type of power that the power company can put in it, and every single thing they have is they're out of stock on it, all of it. I've tried to change a different type of service, everything, it doesn't work. But it's hard to do it, and you know, I've spent a bundle on it so far and still got more to go, but it is, on the inside, if you look at the inside, it is coming along real good. And the outside, they have made some progress, so we're hoping to get it by the end of the year.
Good stuff. All right. Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Vice Mayor Penny.
Had a great time over at the school the other day with Student Government Day. I think the kids enjoyed it, and I was amazed how much they knew. So it's a great time. And Pictona, I spent 6 hours over there last Friday and was over there Saturday and Sunday. And the overwhelming comments from the people were just, I've never seen anything like this. This is the best place in the country. I talked to a guy that lives in Orlando that he had 8 people were crashing at his house that he had just built in Volusia County so he could be closer to Pictona. And when you go over there and watch people my age play, it's one thing. I watched 2 22-year-old kids, men's 5-0, which is as good as it gets.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Crazy.
It's like, it was as good as watching Wimbledon. I don't think it gets any better. So, great venue. Really excited about the city events that we're going to have there. And, Laura, we have an after hours at the Blue Water Marine?
November 10th, 5:30 to 7:30 at Blue Water Marine, and they have a band, and it's going to be a really big event.
That's
So
awesome.
Please come out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's it.
Great. Thank you, Vice Mayor. Commissioner.
Thank you. And Student Government Day, I was so impressed by those kids, like you said. They were very knowledgeable.
You know, they kept asking the same questions over and over and over.
But they were some knowledgeable kids. I was impressed. And Pictona, Forrest and I had the best seat in the house. We went over there and volunteered Friday and Saturday at Center Court. So I was at Center Court my whole volunteering time, and they kept giving me gold match.
Yeah.
So we saw some really good play, and like he was saying, we worked mixed doubles and 19 plus, and these guys were 4.5s, and I mean, it's just phenomenal to watch them play, especially being somebody that loves pickleball myself. So, and the people, like he said, were just so overwhelmed by the complex, and just thought it was absolutely amazing. And they're really good at putting on events over there. I heard no complaints this time. I did hear complaints in the past, little complaints here or there, but I heard nothing this time. And, I mean, they did have some glitches with their announcement system and some other things, but they worked through that, and I think they did an awesome job putting that event on. I love seeing all the events in town. That's why I'm so happy we have you. Valerie, I just want to make sure the swearing in for myself and Commissioner Johnson is our next meeting, right? Okay. And it's at 6?
If I make it back in time.
Are you not going to be here?
So I'm gonna be here. I had to travel about 7 hours to get to this one, so I think I'll be here.
Oh, my God.
Wow.
Should be retired, works harder than most people.
Is that all?
You need to start retiring and enjoying life.
Yeah.
He is enjoying life,
That,
not retired.
that's it for me, Mayor.
I've been
All right,
retired from
and-
Apple for
and-
80 years.
And really quickly, that spurred off something, you guys talking about pickleball, not to make this all about pickleball, but last night, my good friend is the mayor of New Smyrna, Russ Owen, and he's retiring from public office, and it was his last State of the City in New Smyrna, and the Brandon Center was packed full of people, and he comes to our city probably 2 or 3 times a week and plays pickleball here at Pictona. And in his speech, he talked about how they want to provide more amenities and things to do in the city, and said, like pickleball, and pointed to someone in the audience, right, Tom, whatever it was, and so I yelled out, just come to Holly Hill, and the whole place started laughing, and after people were literally coming up to me, shaking my hand, saying, Pictona is amazing, we come all the time, which means that people are coming into the heart of our city and hopefully stopping at your pizza shop, hopefully stopping at the barbecue place and all the other places that we have. So that's good for our economy, and we can only do so much as a government, but we can provide an opportunity for things to happen, and I think that that's what this project has done, and so I'm very proud of it and glad that we've been blessed to have that come to us. So with that, I'm going to close. Is there any further business? Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned.
Hey, what are you doing? Just hanging out?
Hey, you